more time. What's up, my brother?
Hey, what's up, Moshe? How are you?
Not much. I'm so sorry we missed each other when you were just here in Miami.
Yeah, I know. I'm always trying to be ambitious with time, but I'm happy we got this together finally.
At least you get your ambitious planning and work with dancing. So I'll let go of the time thing and meeting with me. Thank you for joining. Like I told you over the phone, this is a fun super chat. There is no agenda. I have no notes. Just wanted to bring you up here to introduce you to our people that follow us and Aventura Dance Cruise and just share your story and see what's up with you and what's going on with your very busy life. So for the few people that don't know you, if you don't mind, take a second and introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, my name is Lyrik Cruz. Originally from Chicago. The salsa world knows me a lot as Andy Cruz. Um, I born and raised in Chicago, between Chicago and New York. And now for the past 6 years, I've been living in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles or airports?
Well, a little bit of both, but fortunately, ever since I kind of took a back seat in doing the salsa congresses, I really focused on being in Los Angeles to just be available and be able to attack the work that I wanted to be doing there.
Nice. So how's LA treating you?
Well, now it's treating me amazing.
Awesome.
The first 2 years were quite the nightmare. You go to a place like Los Angeles and you think that after 12 years of traveling the world and doing what you did that would count for something. But you get to LA and you know, it was very humbling experience. I thought the phone was gonna be off the ringer, and it just didn't happen. But you have to learn a different game when you decide to work in Hollywood, and it took a few years, but fortunately, when it clicked, and now it's happening, and now I'm living it.
You see, this is what's so nice about not having an agenda with our talk right now, because you touched on something that recently when I travel, I hear a lot of dancers that want to move to LA and make it there and give it a try, either by being an actor or dancer or just working on their craft. And it's not an easy path. And just if you don't mind, just share a little bit more of what's different in LA versus Chicago, for example.
Well, what wasn't, anything that's transitional is going to be difficult. You could try to prepare yourself the best that you can. I got to LA with a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, but I was also a baby for what the Hollywood world was composed of. And even to find one person to slightly crack the window open for you is a lot, you know. But the nature of our business, those of us who survive in it, is a lot of resilience.
Hmm. A lot.
Defeat is not something that ever won with me. I've always grabbed life by the balls, and the things that I said I was gonna do. I stood focused. It might have not happened in the timing that I wanted to, but I was resilient because when you believe in yourself, you're gonna go all the way. And I just I kept pushing the doors open until they finally opened.
How did you push for 2 years? You mentioned 2 years is not a short period of time. Sometimes it's four, sometimes it's less, but still something drove you in, because a lot of people give up along the way.
Well, again, when you're in a place where now you're a small fish again. You come from a place like Chicago, that's my hometown, and I created everything that started my career there, and I had an entire community that was behind me and that
Hmm.
supported what I was doing. To then go to New York, which has always been my second home. So, in New York, one way or another, if you know how to promote a class, you're going to make some money, you'll do it. But when you go to a place that's 3,000 miles away from anything that you know and anything that you're used to, it's a different ballgame. The only thing that I could say I was most prepared in is that I didn't go to LA comparing it to anything. I knew that it was going to be a new experience, and new experiences come with everything.
Amazing. What would you recommend a dancer, specifically a dancer that is planning or considering moving to the West Coast?
do your homework. Do your homework and go with a legit plan. You don't move to a place like Los Angeles on just a chance. Especially if you already have a career that's happening right now. You have to make sure that you're gonna know how to blend that in to what happens in a place like Los Angeles. Um, and again, no matter how good you are, a million of us feel that we're amazing at what
We're the
we
best.
do, but you're going into a town where 5,000 people think they're amazing at what they do, you know? And you also have 5,000 people who are working tirelessly every day and never stop training and never stop taking their acting classes and never stop taking their vocal lessons, never stop taking class and, just get ready to fight the good fight, because if you make it, then you win because it wasn't easy. But know that those of you who are used to getting the phone calls every week because they want to book you somewhere else, I couldn't book an agent for my first 2 years because, what every agent would tell me, well, Lyrik, you have a great live performance experience, but you don't have anything that's TV or film. And so that doesn't speak our language,
Right.
so I had to go back to doing projects for free. I had to go back, again, I went from having a very nice, substantial, lucrative career to sleeping on a sofa for a year, just so I can build once again. This was, and remember, this is my third time moving to a different city, and it's a third time I had to start from the bottom up. But it was worth it. But it was tough. It was tough.
No, for sure. And you mentioned 12 years. That's I didn't even know that it's been that long. How did you get into dancing? How did you start?
Well, being Puerto Rican, that's how you start dancing, right? And I grew up in Chicago, which, fortunately is a place of such great dance influences as much as musical influences. And I'm one of those kids that I was raised by the village, like it was people in my community that opened doors for me. But, I got on my first stage at 8 years old, and continued my training in Chicago. I got accepted into the High School of Performing Arts, and that opened a whole other view of what I can do with my dancing. And and as time goes by, the more serious you take it, the more you understand that you can make a career out of this. When you grow up in a middle class neighborhood and an inner city like the neighborhood I grew up in, Chicago, wanting to live this career seems very far-fetched and not something that's very supported. I came from a neighborhood where life was about survival, and you do whatever you can to survive. So, I'm happy that my mother, even though she didn't understand what this was going to turn into or the possibility, she allowed me and she supported me in the best way she could, which was, my mother wasn't going to pay for me to take dance classes, but she let me live with her. So that was enough, the rest was up to me. But it was just, knowing that I couldn't see myself do anything else but this. And when you fall in love with something like music, um, it's a relationship and a bond that becomes unbreakable. So it's the only relationship that's really worked out for me in my lifetime.
What does it take to get dancing to be, your career, the only thing that you do? Because we know so many great dancers that have to do other things in order just to keep on going, pay the bills, and it's not that easy, right?
No, and even when whatever people consider being there is, this never stops. And this is not a career in entertainment is not for the weak. And it takes a lot more than passion. Passion is where it starts. Work ethic is what keeps you there. And make sure that you continuously keep evolving into something else as an artist. Because I think that's the greatest challenge that's in front of us, but not everyone likes to accept. I never wanted to be the same thing more than once, you know. And even in my career in salsa, when I was one of the very first dance companies to really venture into fusion, the fusions of a lot of things. I think I'm the first one that ever did a merengue choreography on the Salsa Congress stage in 2002, you
Wow.
know. But I was always willing to take that risk because I'm an artist for myself first. I love sharing what I do. I love for people to feel the love that I put into the things that I do. But even to this day, I still dance for me first, you know and I think that allows my process to be what it's been. And after 12 years in salsa, the only thing that I resented from it wasn't the scene. I'm so grateful for the salsa community for giving me the world. I saw the world and gave me an incredible platform to share all this creative energy I had inside of me. But I felt stagnant for myself, and that was my own fault. It wasn't the salsa world's fault, but it's when I knew that I had to detach and go towards the road that I was always meant to be on.
That's amazing. And you mentioned the evolution of salsa and being an artist. 12 years ago is one thing. There was no 7 years. I mean, I think 10 years ago, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no Snapchat, there was no, all the live feed. And life doesn't really relate to what I'm trying to say here. But the point is that how do you think a dancer stay relevant nowadays versus in the past?
Well, I think there's a difference between relevance and substance.
Mhm.
I think that what my goal is now, and I can happily say, I'm 38 years old and I did my first Salsa Congress when I was 21 years old. So, this was 18 years that I've been doing Salsa Congress stages. Um, it's, how can I say, it's just important to, there's so many ways that I could put this that I just,
One most important thing. What do you think we're lacking right now in order to stay relevant for like 17 years?
I think what we're lacking is diversity. Diversity in the sense that, you know, I want to walk into a show where I see a wide spectrum of things happening. To me, with the beauty of Latin dance, we could experiment so much further. And I think that sometimes, but this happens in entertainment, period. So I'm not going to try to separate the Latin dance world from entertainment. In entertainment, fads are built and people buy into fads. You have to choose, are you going to be a fad or are you going to be of substance? You know?
Yeah.
And right now, what I want people, I will always stay relevant because I am who I am. You get me? And my relevance comes behind the teachings that I give and the joy that I spread and the knowledge that I'm trying to share, correct knowledge that I'm trying to share. You know, I think that's how I'm going to be able to stay relevant in this. But for each artist, it's different. You know, for each artist, it's a different path, it's a different journey. You have to choose what's going to be yours, and how do you want to be remembered? I don't need to be social media famous. What I do need is my name to be remembered when I'm gone. And that's my goal.
That's amazing. And being true to who you are, because everybody else is taken, like the saying said,
Hmm.
probably also gives you that push when times are hard
Yeah.
and the
Well,
motivation.
it's motivation. And one thing that I can tell every dancer, young, old, new, veteran, know that there's still so much more knowledge to seek. And there's so much more that we can continue to learn from each other because we are all touching different aspects of this wide spectrum that's called entertainment, right? So all I want to do now is that I want to continue to marry, just like my goal in Hollywood was for them to accept our dance style as a true discipline. Because people say salsa dancer and they think that being a salsa dancer is just that I go to nightclubs every night and That's
Yeah.
why I'm a salsa dancer. No, I had to really break it down to them, and I still break it down. This is a discipline, just like ballet is a discipline, just like modern dance is a discipline. Latin dance has a vocabulary that you need to learn, and you should learn. We have a syllabus to go by. We have definitions behind our movements. And, people weren't respecting Latin dance in that sense. The biggest respect they have for Latin dance was Latin ballroom,
Mhm.
but not for the Latin street dance. And
I mean, Latin ballroom is more structure,
yes,
and there's no real definition, beside outside of that spectrum. Is that right?
right. Yeah, correct. But this is what I needed them to learn. I needed them to see, because I come from a technique world, because I'm not telling you that I am the best jazz dancer or the best ballet dancer, but I went to school for it and I learned the vocabulary of it. And I was able to marry that with everything I've learned in the salsa world and be able to present it to these choreographers and creative directors and agents in a way that I speak their language and I speak our language, and now they're understanding it.
How important you think is for salsa dancers? You have a lot of fans watching us and giving you a lot of love. Is for dancers to learn also other styles of dance and keep on evolving.
Well, to me, if this is something that if dance is what you love and you're trying to pursue a life in it, why would you ever stop studying? This is just like a doctor. A doctor never stops learning his craft.
Oh,
A chef doesn't learn how to just cook 5 meals and stops there. You know, you should want to be, well, at least you want to be educated, because you don't go to, like, at this point in my career, I don't go to a jazz class because I'm gonna ever be in a jazz dance company or anything like that, but I do it to keep my skill level in a place that's up to par as a choreographer. And yeah, some of those classes you feel like, wow, I'm this huge salsa teacher, but now I have to stand in the back of the class, but I stand humbly in the back of the class, because at least I'm still refreshing my knowledge of dance, and that's what I'm trying to share. You can't share what you don't continue to educate yourself in.
Put your ego aside and keep on learning. Do you think,
Beyond.
and beyond, do you think salsa is in a better place today versus 12 years ago?
It's a 50-50 for me. I think business wise, I'm so proud of my colleagues. I'm proud of the lives that they've been able to create for themselves through salsa. Some of them are beyond well deserving of making a lucrative career out of something that they put so much time and effort in. Um, but I also think that there's too many people that are seeing it as a fast track to their pseudo celebrity or mediocre fame, you know and you're losing the artistry because of that, and you could tell, when you sit in these shows, like, there's no need to call out anybody. What you see is of substance. You see who's trying something different, and who's just trying to get by, and to me, it's like, where's your artistic integrity? And I think that lacks a little nowadays. I know that when I grew up, and what I grew up learning from was the Caribbean souls, the Abacua, the Eddie Torres dancers, the Razzmatazz, the Descarga Latina, you know, those companies I looked at, and it was a dream. It was a dream, and the level of discipline and heart and artistry and and you know and creativity was just, it was on another level. I never knew that that could even exist in Latin dance,
Mhm.
because I don't even think that those companies know that what they were creating was Latin dance theater, you know
Wow.
but we were there were everybody, they came from the streets, they sharpened up the tools, and then they created these amazing dance companies, but now I don't think that people are creating these dance companies with that same heart, and when you start putting business in front of passion, then you're compromising artistic integrity.
Right. You mentioned some great names and dance companies that inspired all of us back then. But I think you can agree with me, 12 years ago, there were like handful or maybe a little bit more of dance companies and dancers and also events and congresses. And nowadays you have three of them a weekend, you know? So is it good that we have so, like you go to any congress, there are 40 shows a night, you know, so many dancers, so many people trying to showcase. So is it a good thing that we have so many dancers and so many congresses, or we lose value, or how do you feel about it?
Oh, we've totally lost value. For me, it's not even a question. To me, again, people have started putting the business before the integrity of some events. Fortunately, at this point, I'm very proud to say that the events that I've stuck with are because they're events that carry some substance, and it's why I care to still be a part of them. you know but and again, okay, what happens with our salsa events is that you don't want to kill the excitement of the enthusiast, right? And you don't want to kill the excitement of the student, but it's our job as teachers to school our students the correct way and not just try to sell them a class, teach them the class. You get me? I will never have a student team just so I can sell them, so I can make money, so they can to sell passes to go to an event. For me, if you come to be in a student team that I'm directing, it's because you want to learn dance, not because you're just trying to perform. But and that's in control of the instructors. But if the instructors are not creating boundaries that teaches our students to respect this, then it's going to continue to hurt our community. By far, it's going to continue to hurt, because when I was 20 and I started doing my process of getting into salsa congresses, do you know how many tapes I had to sit down and dub in VHS and go to a post office and FedEx it or priority mail, spend money that I didn't have, at 19, just just so people could even understand or hear of who I was. I had to work so hard before I got my first booking as an artist at a salsa congress. And people don't go through that process anymore, which is why they don't have the same respect for it as some of us do.
VHS, we used to share DVDs, and that's modern, right? DVD is not that
Yeah.
old,
Oh, please.
and
DVDs
it was
was
like
a huge
drugs.
step up. Yeah.
Oh my God, if I got a hand on that DVD, and now so many amazing dancers are sharing their knowledge, in most cases for free on YouTube, and it's the access to the greats are there. So
Hmm.
we're trying to the theme here with this podcast, with these chats that we have, is dance is my business. How can we merge, and all the dancers that are watching us and performers and people that just love social dance, how do you merge dancing and business and do it the right way, in your opinion?
Well, it's like everything in life. You have to know, there's levels to this, and you have to have a respect for process. you know
Patience.
yeah. And respect. You cannot I can't go into a hospital and pretend to be a doctor just because I learned how to put a band-aid on a cut. You
Mm-hmm.
get me? So
100.
just because you learn A Susie Q does not mean that you can start teaching a full class. There's levels to this, and all I can share to anyone in entertainment period is seek integrity. Seek integrity for yourself, so that way we can all take care of this art and this dance that we love so much. And but we can't, just a few of us can't do that. We have to do this together.
Right. Right. It's an act of a whole, and but it starts with the individual.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
One of our good friends, Beto, is here watching. And guys, if you have any questions for Lyrik, please post it here. I would love for you guys to be a part of this conversation. Beto is asking, would you hold promoters accountable as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. um you know Promoters have become the segue, right, for
Hmm.
us to be able to have platforms to do what we do. I know some promoters who have an integrity to their event, and it doesn't matter what you propose to them. If they don't want you, they're not going to have you because you're just not a fit for them. And I'm okay with that part of the process. You get me? Like if anybody says, well, Lyrik, this year it's not going to work out, it's fine. Because if you're not suited for what they're trying to build for their event, then you're not a fit. And
Right.
definitely no hard feelings for me, you know? But I think that promoters have a control, and I get it. Promoters, I don't want this to be misread because I also honor promoters who have put their own finances on the line to create something because of the same passion that they share with us, you know? But there's also not an excuse for mediocrity.
Right.
Being mediocre is a choice. And if what you choose to do is to have an event that's mediocre and you choose to just let anyone grace your stage, then that was your choice.
At least be upfront about it and say, hey, we're new, we're starting, this is a stage for everyone. Look, I am a promoter in a way. I'm
Yeah.
wearing a lot of hats, and I think that, as always, without musicians there is no dancers, without dancers there are no promoters, without promoters there are no,
Yeah.
for you,
There's
if
no
you don't have,
platform. Yeah.
there is no platform. So there's a lot of responsibility that goes on the promoter. One, you need to make profit so you can pay your bills and continue staying in business. B, you want to put the best shows and talents out there because you sell it, so you want to provide. And also, one thing that also drives me quite a bit, yes, many can look at it as a business move, which is true, but also to give the stage to the new upcoming teams. You were there at some point, some other great
Yes.
dancers were there at some point. So how do you mix, and how do you, one way that we found that works for us at Aventura Dance Cruise, we have our top performers, the professional, the known, the people that been in the scenes on the first and last day, for example. And then we have a day when we call it on the schedule, it's on the booklet, rising stars, when we give platform we give stage for the students, and we're there to support them, and everybody's there cheering and very happy for them and letting them showcase their hard work. How do you think promoters should approach this dilemma?
Well, Moshe, you're touching on what exactly it's the process. When I did my first two congresses, I had my very first Congress, I had to be part of the youth program and part of the amateur program because I had a lot of teenagers on my dance company. I was the oldest, I was 20, but most of my team was between the ages of 15 to 18. And I had to accept that that was going to be my process, you know? And then people are so afraid to let dancers know, well, you can be in the amateur showcase. That is still a step up than just dancing in the studio. You're still getting to step on the stage, but the fact that you feel entitled to dance on a stage on the night that professionals are dancing is bizarre to me. It is crazy to me that you can think as a student, or directors think that just because you feel that good about your student team, that they should dance on the same night
No, yeah,
as legends like Tito and Tamara. That's
when they
bizarre.
when they try to dictate that, that's bizarre. I agree 100%. But even for us in the Rising Stars nights, we throw in and we mix a few great dancers as well, because
Yeah.
a part of their experience is also to be with somebody like you and all of the great dancers that we know backstage. So we do mix Tito and Tamara sometimes within the Rising Stars, but the MCs, and when I communicate to them, they say, and now the great student team of that and that school, and everybody knows what they're getting. So it's a debate. It's a
Well,
debate.
it's a debate, Moshe, but I'm going to tell you what made me work hard. That I couldn't perform on those Saturday nights for my first 2 or 3 years. No
Right.
one was giving me a show to close for a long time, but that's what fueled me. You get me?
Yeah.
That's what made me say, okay, you're almost there, and now instead of being, because again, there's levels to this, and it's okay to accept it. The thing is that everybody feels so belittled by everything, and I just don't know that emotional cluster that people feel, because I trained as a dancer my entire life, and not every one of my teachers told me that I was fabulous and amazing.
Yeah,
You,
the
you know,
challenge is not there anymore.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
We had to, I'm sorry, Moshe, it's just, I had to work so hard to get on that lineup of the salsa stars, and it's something that I cherished, and that because I worked so hard for it. It wasn't given to me. Me and those kids in Chicago rehearsed every day for hours to get to that point. It wasn't handed to us. So the first time that they told us, well, Andy, we're offering you 6 plane tickets, that was like hitting the $1 million jackpot for us. It was so huge because we worked for it. No one It wasn't handed out. And even after that, then first it starts with, okay, well, you get free passes to the event. That felt like a graduation. Then the next year comes around, well, Andy, we could pay for your plane ticket and we'll cover the passes. That felt like another graduation. It didn't all come. It took me 6 years before people were paying for my dance company to come as an hired act. It was a process, but it was a process that I respected.
100%. There is a value uh, in the challenge, in the struggle, right?
Absolutely.
Another question that will
Absolutely.
pop up here. How is LA treating you? You already shared with us the story and the difficulty at the beginning. You mentioned also at the beginning of this podcast that now LA is awesome. Share
Yeah.
with us what's going on in LA for Lyrik Cruz.
Listen, they don't call it the city of dreams for nothing. You know, um, LA, I will always say Chicago made me, New York taught me lessons that no one in the world could teach me, but LA brought made me level up to a place that I didn't even know I can reach, you know? And now, it's going to be 7 years that I've been there, and it's home. I love it. I love it. I found what I needed to there for myself. And, um, and I've been able to work, you know, I submitted for all the dance schools there when I moved there. Nobody was interested in what I was doing at all. And again, what is it for me coming off of 13 years traveling the world in salsa? You come to LA, no one's interested in what you have to offer. But with my patience, now I get to work at some of the most prestigious dance schools in the country, you know, doing our dance, doing what we do, you know.
Representing.
Yeah, but LA now, I can say it 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 was it has sealed the deal on this dream I've had my whole life.
That's amazing. You think being around so many amazing of everything brought your level up, made you work harder?
Well, I think your surroundings will always have a lot to do with how you attack things, right? In Chicago, I was surrounded by very ambitious young individuals that we pushed each other to what our greatness was at that time. You know, in salsa, I was fortunately enough to have made friends who are now family with dancers who inspired me, and we inspired each other and we pushed each other to the next level. Then you move to a city like Los Angeles where 90% of the people in it are in it to win,
Hmm.
you know so being around that energy is contagious, and I'm already a super energetic person, so to get even more electricity from people, just it gives you that ultra boost, and it gave me that ultra boost where this is why when people are like, Lyrik, how are you? I'm happily exhausted because I am tired, but I'm happily exhausted.
Happily exhausted. I'm going to use that. Um, for so many people that inspired by you and your work, being around for so long and yet being so young. Give us in short your top two, top three tips for all these dancers that want to make it, want to travel the world, want to do what they love, but not just for 1 or 2 years, for many years to come.
Respect those that were here before you. never think that you're bigger than the music, because none of us are bigger than the music. You know, we could feel that we're great, but we're never going to be bigger than the music. And make sure that there's a message that you're pushing with your art, you know, that there's a substance behind what you're presenting to the world, and what you want people to see. You know, I know that it's so important for me for people to feel a piece of me when I'm performing and when I put the pieces that I do together, because I am loyal to the art of street dance, which is why we Latin Rage incorporate Vogue, house, mambo, street cha-cha, the things that we're composed of, but we do it with the integrity to those dance styles. And it means so much to us to share that on every stage that we're on, because it's dance styles that were very underrepresented, you know? And now we get to use our platform to push it forward. And it represents us, and it represents communities that are underrepresented sometimes, you know, and that's our mission with our dance, you know. And so you have to find something that, you know, any of us can put together a great choreography to a great piece of music, but what is your career really composed of? What are you really putting out there? And that's something that each individual has to figure out.
Amazing, amazing answer. And thank you so much for your time. For all our friends, and you got so much love here in the comments that want to follow you and know what's coming up next for you and your team and your company. How can somebody stay in touch with you?
Well, all of my social medias are at Lyrik Cruz, LYRIKCRUZ. And, you know, and I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who continuously shows love um, in the past few years. Thank you for being part of my journey in Hollywood, and all the overabundance of messages and just encouragement, because, you know, it's not easy. It's a fight, but I'm there, and I've accepted my challenge in life, and you know, I'm making it happen, and it's never been just about me. You know, it's about my community, it's about my people, and it's about the music that I love so much, you know. And so I thank you all, you know, who still care to know of what I'm doing, and what I'm trying to do in Hollywood. You know, I was a kid from the ghetto with big dreams, you know, and all I did different was I fought for them.
Amazing. You're an inspiration for many, and I got a chance to work with you, and not just once, and hopefully for many more. You're gonna come on the next ABCs, and your shows, the way you carry yourself, your workshops, everything is just inspiring about you. And keep up the
Thank
great
you.
work. Thank you so much. To answer Julie that asked about these interviews and podcasts that we have, Julie, anyone that I can get, any musician, any dancer, any promoter that I think can bring you guys value, I'm going to ask him to join us here live. And we have everything recorded on iTunes in our podcast. Dance is my business. Whatever we can do to keep on inspiring people. Right, Andy?
Yes, sir.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much. Good luck. And I'm looking forward to see you in person.
Yes, thank you, Moshe. Un
Take
abrazo.
care. Take
Talk to you
care.
soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.